But what I didn't know was that trying to solve my hip problem was going to result in me losing 70 pounds in just 5 months. And what's even more crazy about that is that I've been able to keep it off effortlessly. It's been almost 6 years since I lost the weight. Dieting isn't fun. We do it because we have weight to lose. And that means giving up all the fun things that we love to eat. So when there are special occasions like birthdays and holidays, those are our occasions to eat fun foods without guilt. The question is that really true, Wellness Warrior? When you are eating off plan, are you not scrutinizing the food anyways because you know that you shouldn't be eating it because you have weight to lose? I know that's what I was doing. Everything that went in my mouth, I was paying attention, even at a party. Is it true then that I'm at this party eating fun food with zero shame or guilt? That wasn't the case for me. Birthdays and holidays become these very stressful situations because how do I celebrate, so eat fun foods, without ruining my diet? And that's the question, right? That's the struggle that we're having, is that somehow I'm going to eat junk, but my body is going to stay good, and I'm going to, stay in ketosis, and my health is going to stay on track. That doesn't happen. But in this fantasy situation in my head, I'm trying to make it happen. Can I point out another problem that happened for me anyway? Is that my birthday would be this new beginning that I would every year say, this is the year I'm going to, eat healthy and get my health under control. But because I knew that after my birthday, I'm cleaning up my diet, I would allow myself on my birthday to eat whatever I felt like because, well, it's the beginning of my new diet, right? So one last fun meal or set of meals, because I tend to celebrate my birthday the entire week of my birthday. So that's a lot of fun things that I'm eating just before I begin my new healthy way of eating. But the problem is, first of all, before my birthday, I probably was eating relatively normal. And if I was dieting, or pretend dieting, whatever you want to call it, I would have been eating much less junk food, much less garbage than this week where I give myself permission to eat a little more because after this, I'm going to hunker down and I'm really going to be, on target. But now I'm in a new problem. That permission I gave myself to overeat because I'm going to start afresh after my birthday likely means that I ate even more junk food than I had been eating the weeks before my birthday. So I've set myself into a spiral that probably pushed me to overeat for a few days, weeks, or even months. Basically, I'm all of a sudden chasing because I've let so much garbage in. And then the next event comes along. Maybe it's Christmas, maybe it's Easter, whatever event it is. And I say, I'm going to be back on track as soon as this holiday is over. And I do it to myself again. First, can we acknowledge that this societal permission to eat off plan when there's a holiday or a birthday or an event of some kind actually allows us to act against our own best interest? Right? Everybody else is doing it, so I'm going to do it too, is the wrong answer. And I actually remember my mom telling me that as she's punishing me for following the neighbor kid instead of following her rules. What's wrong with us that we don't understand to follow the rules that our body is trying to tell us? This is healthy, this is not. So in order to get results, you have to eat healthy food. And you're going to do that, Wellness Warrior. You're going to start today immediately. As soon as you finish watching the video, the next thing you eat, healthy. And then when you see what happens next, you are never going to go off plan ever again. How do we do this? Every single meal that you eat for the next 90 days, 90 days, no cheating, no stepping out. Every single meal that you eat is going to be keto friendly, everything. Obviously, with a 90-day trajectory, that means you're going to come across a birthday, holiday, some event is going to happen. And you are going to be like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? How am I? And you are going to eat on plan. Why? Because you want results. And what do you think is going to happen? Wait, take a second. I want you to write in the comments below, what do you think will happen? 90 days, I eat on plan every single day. Most people who eat on plan, no cheating, lose weight. In my case, by 3 months in, July 20th, 2018, I had lost 43 pounds. 3 months, 43 pounds. I know, crazy to say that out loud. I had never lost that much weight in such a short period of time ever. And it had been years that I had lots of weight that I should have lost. Depending on how much weight you have to lose, your path is going to be different than mine. But 5 months later, I was actually at goal weight. So it took 5 months to lose 80 pounds. And 80 pounds was much more than I wanted to lose. I actually was lighter than I had intended and that I was comfortable. Again, can we just stop and talk about how crazy this is that I lost so much weight that I decided voluntarily to put 10 pounds back on, right? So I've lived the next 6 years, 70 pounds down, purposefully, willingly. Crazy, right? And that weight loss came with some pretty nice perks because all of my health markers have improved. I sleep so much better. I'm stronger. It's easier for me to do my activities now. I think much more clearly. My mood is so much better regularly. There's so many things that I'm not going to name them all right now, but the perks beyond the weight loss, incredible. I'm not the only success story of people losing a significant amount of weight on a keto diet. The problem is 80% of people who lose weight on a diet regain 50% or more of that weight within the first year. 90% of people are almost back to their original weight by the end of the second year. So, am I a special snowflake? Why was it that I'm able to keep this weight off, but other people are not able to maintain their weight loss? And I honestly want to tell you that the only difference I think there is between me and everybody else is that I follow the data. And because I follow the data, I've kept the weight off. And I want to show you the data so that you can do the same thing and keep the weight off. Most people who diet lose weight. That's across the board. It doesn't matter what diet you do. You do a diet, you lose weight. That's why calories in, calories out has stood the test of time, because when people do it and they eat less, exercise more, they lose weight. But then of course you end up gaining it back, right? But that's, again, every diet. So why do I bother focusing your attention on keto? It's because some diets just work better than others, and you're able to manage that weight return a bit better, a bit differently, and we're going to talk about that. What I want to do is I want to walk you through the different diets, what's good about them, what's not so good about them, so that you will make the best decision for you. And we're going to start with the the calories in, calories out diet. The progression on that kind of diet is slow, which is not stressful. We get to eat the foods that we're used to eating. We're just eating them in lesser amounts. We get to eat the foods we're used to eating that are diet versions, so the diet doesn't seem strange to us, right? We still get to eat what we're used to. Now, this diet can be frustrating though, because a lot of people report being hungry when they're eating a normal calories in, calories out. And if we do it in a way where we put down junk food, a lot of people talk about feeling dissatisfied, not enjoying their meals. So it depends. If you let yourself use diet foods, this diet can be fine and fun. And if you don't allow yourself to use a lot of diet bars, diet sodas, then this diet can feel really restrictive. The research shows that vegetarian and vegan diets, though, you can lose twice as much weight as with a standard diet. And especially if you are choosing to eat whole foods, healthy foods, instead of processed foods. If you enjoy the foods you're eating, these diets can be very easy to sustain. But if you don't enjoy the food, sustainability is difficult. When it comes to a Mediterranean diet, the research shows that you could lose something like 8.7% of your body fat doing that kind of diet. So that would mean if you weighed 180 pounds, you would lose like 15.7 pounds. You'd end up weighing like 164 pounds-ish. That's not so bad, but that would take you about a year. Because the diet isn't very restrictive, most people can sustain that diet. But of course, weight loss comes down to making healthy food choices. Another diet that I kind of like is the paleo diet. Research is showing that you can lose 20 pounds in 60 days. So that's pretty impressive weight loss. And again, because the paleo diet has built into it no processed foods, you're doing all of that with healthy foods. Sustainability, again, comes down to if you love the foods you're eating, it's going to be sustainable. If you don't like the foods, it's going to be hard. The pescatarian diet basically means that all of your protein, or the majority of your protein, is coming from fish. And that diet, pretty sustainable if you like fish, but it's very similar to a standard diet. Weight loss really is dependent on your food choices. The healthier the food choices you're making, so the less processed foods you're eating, the better your weight loss is going to be. The more processed foods and junk foods in there, the less you're going to be able to maintain or attain weight loss. And then we have the keto diet. So most people who have significant weight loss are losing somewhere between 10 and 12 pounds in the first month. That's because they're solving their water retention problems. So if we jump forward past that point, in the following months, the people who lose significant weight talk about losing 8 to 10 pounds a month on the rest of their journey. And of course, that slows down the closer you get to your goal weight. Now, on a keto diet, there's still the possibility of eating processed foods, because today there's so many processed foods available because companies have started to make keto-friendly snacks and keto-friendly all the things. The healthier of a keto diet you do, so the less processed foods that you have in there and the more whole foods you have, the better people tend to do. Same like a standard diet. The sustainability of a keto diet is going to depend, like every other diet. Do you like the foods you're eating? Do you stick with it? Ooh, okay, now the next diet I want to talk about is the carnivore diet. Again, it's a subset of the keto diet, so you get all the benefits, that initial weight loss because you fixed your water retention issues, and then, 8 to 10 pounds weight loss as you move forward. Now, there are processed foods in the carnivore diet too, because you have all those beef jerky, chicken jerky, fish jerky things that you could be eating. So, there's still that possibility, Wellness Warrior. But just like keto, it's sustainable if you like what you're eating and you stick with the meal plan. So since all diets lead to weight loss, it really does come down to sustainability, whether or not a diet can be called a success. How long do I maintain my healthy weight after I've lost the weight? All of these diets work very well if we limit processed foods. But there are some of these diets that don't even talk about processed foods. They say nothing on the topic. And so that means that those diets tend to be more sustainable because people get to eat the fun things that they want to eat. The question is, over time, how much processed food do you have in your diet? Because those processed foods in the long run impact your weight and your health. And part of the reason they impact your health is because your resolve to eat healthy is going to be dependent on how often those processed things are in your meal plan, right? So for example, I've known people who have breakfast and some kind of fruit after breakfast. That's a sweet something. Then they have lunch and some kind of granola bar, a processed sweet something. And then they have supper and they have maybe another granola bar, or they have an actual piece of cake or that's another processed sweet something. And if every meal you are having these processed sweet things, and sometimes that fruit that they're having is a fruit cup. So it's still processed. And then we add, what are the things that I'm having between meals? I've known people who are, I'll talk about myself. I used to have chips as a snack. I used to have cookies as a snack. I used to have chocolate as a snack. I used to have all kinds of unhealthy things as snacks. Wellness Warrior, those were the things that were building my body. Not the best idea. We need to remember that carbohydrates are addictive. So for those of you that are new here, surprise, carbohydrates are addictive. If we're eating them, eventually we end up overeating them, especially if we're having them daily in large amounts. What's a large amount? Our body can handle 20 grams of carbs per day, and that's handle. So we don't typically drink up to our limit because that's a recipe for losing our control and creating a drinking problem. So why would we push ourselves to the max of our carb limit? But I see a lot of people doing that. They're doing a healthy keto way of eating, but they're eating right up to that 20, and then they end up going over, and then they end up going over by more and more and more until they are no longer eating a healthy keto diet. In our community, we call that carb creep, right? Because we just keep going until we're so far above, we're no longer in ketosis. And of course, when that happens, what's happening to our body? Our weight is rising, right? Our metabolic syndrome's coming back. Our internal damage is resuming. That's a bad position to be in. For those of us who commit to putting down processed foods, but we allow ourselves to get our sugar fix from fruits, we're in the same story, right? The weight gain will be slower, but again, carb creep is going to happen. Eventually we push ourselves out of ketosis, our weight rises, our metabolic issues come back, our internal damage comes back, and we are no longer in the good situation we were trying to keep ourselves in. There's another problem that I want to point out for those of us who chose keto or carnivore as our diet of choice. You would have gotten to your goal weight really quickly. It only took me 5 months to lose 70 pounds. That's pretty darn fast, right? Because it's so quick to get to goal, some people have the misunderstanding that, oh, that's easy. I can go back to eating normal, and then when I feel like my weight's too high, I just resume eating properly again, and my weight's going to go back. Big mistake. If you talk to people who did keto, went off, and then tried to go back and do keto again, what you realize is that a lot of them struggled to get back in and stay in, because when you solve an addiction and then go back to the addiction and then try to solve it again, it's harder. We've seen that happen to a lot of people with drinking problems. And guess what? A sugar problem isn't any different. I solved it, I let it back in, and now I'm struggling because I'm in it again, and it's hard to let it go a second time or a third time, or every time you do it, it just gets harder and harder to let it go. You last shorter and shorter in the time where you're eating well. And so I want to point out why I've been successful for 6 years. I never allowed myself to go back to eating those regular foods because I understood this when I looked at it and realized, oh no, I was actually addicted to sugar. I hadn't known that before I started keto. I figured it out when I started, and I had withdrawal symptoms. Again, if you're new here, keto flu is code for withdrawal symptoms. And if we don't let ourselves understand that keto flu is actually withdrawal, then we don't let ourselves see that we are actually solving a sugar addiction by eating healthy keto. When I understand that, going back to the sugar doesn't make sense because it'll have a stronger hold on me when I go back, right? We've seen this happen with other substances. Why do we think sugar will be different? And guess what? It's not. There's a second problem with doing keto or carnivore, which is this. You lost weight, sometimes without truly understanding what was my body doing and why did I lose the weight. And so we get faced with this, oh, you're at a normal weight now, it's time to get back to eating normally attitude that exists in our world. And we go for it. We're like, okay, yeah, it's time to go back to eating normally. And I know some of you are watching this right now and saying, but Violet, diets are temporary, right? Isn't that just normal? Yeah, go back to eating. So The attitude that I just want to fit in my dress, I just wanted to be ready for the cruise and be able to eat the junk food, or I just wanted to look good for this party or wedding or whatever. This attitude that we have that says, eat properly for a minute to accomplish this goal and then go back to eating garbage, is what keeps us into the yo-yo dieting, bad for our body, yo-yo dieting story. But it also allows for metabolic damage to continue to be going on. It allows for all our organs to struggle, which honestly, in the later half of your life, you are going to be concerned about. And we can be making better choices in this first half of our life if you're watching this and you're younger than me. But if you're already in the second half of your life, you still can solve it if you take action now. We need to stop seeing dieting as some kind of hack that we do to get our body to look a certain way for a short period of time. And we need to truly understand that what our body is trying to accomplish by creating fat is to keep us alive. Because that sugar that's floating around in your body, again, if you're new here, surprise, it's toxic. And if we don't address that, so if our body wasn't putting it away as fat, we wouldn't be here to have this conversation. But now that I know that my body is taking care of me by putting it away as fat, well, then I can take care of my body by not letting the carby, garbagey foods in the first place. Yes, that's right. If I eat healthier foods rather than garbagey foods, so, and by my definition of garbage, foods that are high in sugar, and that's all carbohydrates. So fruits are high in carbohydrates, rice, pasta, bread, high in carbohydrates. All vegetables that are sweet are high in carbohydrates. All starchy vegetables are high in carb. All of these things that we're constantly saying are healthy are high in carbohydrates and force our body to protect us from those foods by storing them away as fat, this thing that we then want to be mad at our body for doing. Don't be mad at your body for keeping you alive. Thank it. Wellness Warrior, I want you to understand that the reason that all of these diets work until they stop working has nothing to do with the foods that you're eating. It has everything to do with the foods that you stop eating. All the junk food, all the garbage, the pizza, fries, fruit, rice, like all these high sugar foods that are causing damage. When you stop eating them in high amounts or stop eating them altogether, the chips and chocolate bars that you don't have while you're dieting, that's why the diet works. Weight loss is actually at your fingertips. But what you really need to do is get your carb addiction under control. So you're going to watch this video next so that you can get started. If you've already started, share this video with a friend, with family members, with the world, because everybody needs to hear this life-saving information. Your body is trying real hard to keep you healthy. Let's help it out.